On this episode of AV Week, a new alliance looking at the protocols for AV over IP, making an AV experience at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and Dante is doing video. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 388, recorded Friday, February 1st, 2019. Dante VB.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Shure, sound extraordinary,
and by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment, and by FSR.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, and holy cow, do we have some doozies. First and foremost, my buddy and pal, Kelly Perkins from NSCA. How are you?
Hello. I am wonderful. Thanks, Tim. Excited to be on the show and see everyone.
Absolutely. Also with us is Mr. Mike Shin from the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. How are you, sir?
Go Predators.
Go Predators. You've already turned.
I have indeed.
What's a Predator?
It's the hockey team in Nashville, and they are direct competitors to the Blues. So, go Blues. Also with us is industry veteran Mr. Harry Mead. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How are you? I'm coming out of my little self-imposed hermit stage and jumping back out in front of people.
You're still a hermit. Don't misunderstand. All right. Or curmudgeon. You're still a curmudgeon.
I'm a curmudgeon according to Facebook.
Yeah. And Webster's, honestly. Look at his face is right there. All right. First story off of the AV Network and SCN. Audinate adds video to Dante with all new Dante AV module. Excuse me? Quote unquote, Dante AV is designed to solve problems of network video and audio synchronization utilizing a single network clock for sub-micro send accuracy. With us to talk about this real briefly is Brad Price from Audinate. Welcome, sir.
How do you do? Glad to be here.
So the first kind of question seems to be the obvious. Why is Dante doing video?
Because that's the next obvious thing to go to in terms of IP transport. We've been thinking about video, in fact, for a very long time, and carefully considered the options in this. But as the industry is moving towards a consolidated view of audio and video, we felt like it was that we had something to bring to the table. And we wanted to bring the entire philosophy we've brought to manufacturers with Dante to the video sector. And this doesn't change our commitment to audio in any way. It just simply adds more that we can do with Dante and with the whole control framework that we've developed over the years.
One of the questions and one of the debates that's happened in the AV space is the 1 gig versus 10 gig. And I shouldn't even say first, but the 1 gig and 10 gig discussion. This is a 1 gig or a 10 gig solution? This
is a 1 gig solution. We're being clear about that at this point in time, we're working on 1 gig. This is really intended to provide compressed video out to endpoints. So it's not a solution that is running at full uncompressed bandwidth. One would need a heck of a network for that. There are some 10 gig solutions out there. I'm sure that's coming down the pike. But this is definitely a 1 gig solution so that it's practical on common infrastructure today.
So walk me through this. You guys, we're recording this on Friday before ISE. Obviously, ISE is this week. This post on Monday. You're announcing it the week before ISE. You're going to be showing it this week at ISE.
We're going to be doing a demo. That's right.
But you're not. You not to be silly, but Dante doesn't make products, actual end products. So when should we kind of expect to see some of these the first versions of these rolling out?
That's absolutely right. To be clear, like we don't make in general products that have a faceplate on them that people buy. We buy things that are on the back. We make things that are on the back that people put in. We expect to see product announcements and the first units of the AV module itself because there are a couple of parts to this product, shipping shortly after InfoComm. That's our objective, and I think we're gonna be able to hit that. It's important to note that we're offering this product in two parts, and that they work together and they can be used separately in an interesting sort of way. The first part is the AV module itself, and the AV module itself handles all the networking, all the packetization, all the Dante control, Dante audio, and so on. And that little module itself is codec agnostic. That is, it will work with anybody's 1 gig codec if they already have that developed and they already want to stay along with that particular video codec. We are then offering, and it will be available later in the year, a product design suite. And the product design suite is really a set of plans. It's documentation and software that provide complete plans for an encode decode product with a JPEG 2000 codec that we have implemented. Put together, the product design suite and the AV module make for a pretty compelling like turnkey solution for manufacturers who wish to get into video over IP and do so really quickly with a solution that we're very confident of. So it's really in two parts, the AV module itself, and then the complete product design suite, which implements the full codec.
All right, 2 more questions real quick, and then I'll let the panel here take a swipe at you. There's a lot of Dante out there already, a lot of networks already running on Dante.
That's right.
What am I going to have to pull out to put this, to roll this up? Or is this simply switching out one Dante module for another Dante module and the network stays the same?
You're not switching out, you're just adding this.
Okay, adding.
So now you would have your Dante audio products already there as they've been, and now you bring in a Dante video product or two. And now they're just simply more participants on the network, and they show up in Dante Controller just like audio devices do, only they're clearly marked that they're video. And so that you can now send that video to other video endpoints with Dante Controller, just like you do with audio.
And will this already work with Dante Manager when it rolls out?
It already works with Dante Domain Manager and Dante Controller.
Very good.
Right.
Harry, Kelly, or Mike, any questions from Mr. Price?
I was going to say, my biggest thing is I want to see it. I mean, it sounds great. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I would like to see it and then start comparing and seeing what's going on.
It's we've really worked hard on the codec side of things as well to choose a codec that we believe is the best overall choice. It's really our implementation of the Intupix JPEG 2000 that has particular advantages in network applications for low latency and very, very high visual fidelity. So we're very pleased with what we can do on a 1 gig network and are looking forward to seeing the 10 gig and more solutions coming up in the future. The framework we've built will adapt to any of that.
All right, very good. Brad Price from AVNate, thank you so much, sir. If somebody wants to find out more about this, how do they do so if they're not going to ISE, but they want to find out more?
If you're stuck here at home like I am, here in the chilly Northwest, with the moss growing on the north side of my head, then you just go to audinate.com/DanteAV.
Very good.
Put a site right there, just no dashes, no dots, just /DanteAV, and you'll see our the outline of it, what it is, what the different components of it are, and a pretty good set of specs that are already committed to. So go and take a look.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
For someone that's not an engineer type person, you guys rolled out a partnership with QSC.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect your relationship with other audio manufacturers?
It doesn't at this point. We've worked with QSC, and our announcement is pretty generic, and that's absolutely true. We're working on some really different technology with them.
Okay.
So I think what you're going to see come out of that is a new way to do some of the same old job. And do it really well. We're really excited about the partnership with QSC. We were, thought to be kind of orthogonal to each other, doing a couple of different things. But it's been a great partnership and wonderful folks and some really great engineers over there. So, that's going to be a really interesting partnership. I think you're going to see a whole new kind of Dante thing come out of it.
Awesome. And then just one last question. What does orthogonal mean?
At right angles too.
Okay.
Like that. So in other words, they were doing their thing, we were doing ours, and they didn't quite cross over.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm an engineer.
Oh, that's right. All right, Brad Price from AVNate. Thank you so much, sir. For our esteemed panel, Mr. Shen, we'll start with you. What does this mean when you go to sell a system to a client? Does this add to your list of ever-growing AV over IP products, or does this kind of muddy the water a little bit?
Doesn't muddy the water at all. I'm very excited to be able to offer our clients the ability to do both audio and video over the same transmission. So it's very exciting.
All right, Mr. Harry, when you're engineering a system now, what new things do you have to keep in mind now that Dante can do video?
Well, it just depends on what, again, it depends on what the endpoints end up being. For the actual back end of it, I mean, it's going to be a lot easier than, say, AVB was, where you had specific switches.
But don't talk like AVBs in the past. It's still something.
Yeah, but isn't it like something else now?
It's Milan. They refer to it as Milan. So, yes.
Like
okay.
The city in Italy?
Yes, like the city.
I thought it was the Disney princess.
It's both.
Yeah, there's that too.
Anyway, so Dante's always been able to go over any type of the switches, so we can. It makes it a little easier for me than dealing with some of the others, so that I can sit there and say, okay, well, I don't have to have specific back end for all of this. I just need to know what the endpoints do at that point. The back end will take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly, you asked the question of Brad about the QSC partnership. Is this something that not QSC, but other audio manufacturers who have existing Dante partnerships, they either may want to look and saying, hey, AVNate, what about us? Or something where they might be reconsidering their partnerships with AVNate?
I don't know. I mean, if it's easier and a better way to transport, I mean, why wouldn't they use it? I guess. Well, kind of like, what's up?
I was gonna say some of them have their own existing. They have their own existing video over IP solutions.
Right.
A lot of those folks that have partners with Dante.
I mean, Dante's obviously has become very big in our industry, right? I don't know a lot on the technological side, but their marketing is killer. So if they become the big one, or the other manufacturers are going to have to probably jump on the bandwagon too, which I think several of them have already discovered that they have to do that via audio anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next story here comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine, which we'll be hanging out with next week at ISE. We're doing a session for them at the main stage there in Amsterdam. If you're going to ISE, we will be hanging out doing a panel on AV network security on Friday at the main stage with AV Magazine. But there's a new group out called the Alliance for IP Media Solutions, and what it is, it's a working group for AV over IP protocols. What they're doing is they're evaluating media over IP protocols. Harry, having something like this, yes, it's over in the UK, but is this something that not only just engineers and sales folks and people here in the US, but also end users can start watching and taking a look and seeing some of the results of their findings?
They can. I've seen what seems like a couple of these come around where, I mean, we were just talking about Milan a minute ago that was talking about protocols and such. And now we've got the AIMS group, as they acronymed themselves, talking about protocols. So I'm pretty much in a wait and see, just to see what actually comes out of any of these, and see who wins. see if we get into a VHS Betamax. Date myself again.
Did you just actually say Betamax?
He did.
Yes, for those of you who aren't very old, some of us had to deal with different types of videotape, and they weren't. You had to rewind it before you took it back to the rental place.
Rental place? What's a rental place?
It's like Netflix with late fees. Go ahead.
It's a Netflix
Pretty
store.
much.
It's a Netflix store that you went to where you had
a Netflix store.
where you had surly teenagers tell you what kind of movies were good.
That was me. That was one of my first jobs.
All right. I mentioned the fact that Ames is actually not a UK joint. They're out of Washington. Kelly, take me through some of these findings that could possibly come out of this group. Is it something where, folks that, let's say they do well with these findings, that you can use this as a marketing tool, saying, hey, you know what, this third-party group has nothing to do with us necessarily. There are several members, several companies that are members of this group, but they can use this as saying, hey, this independent third party thinks that, our stuff is good and quality and is going to work on your system? Or is it something where, we should probably stick to our own internal testing and our own internal marketing?
I mean, it's always good to have a third-party group, give you the yay, okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting cynical as I get older, and maybe it's partly because I work for a nonprofit now, but
Welcome to the cynical side.
I am just like, there are so many committees and councils and things where I'm just like, I feel like I'm drowning in it. Yes, I want a bunch of smart people to get together and tell us, this is the way to go. But at some point it's like, how many of these groups can we have?
All right.
But that's my cynical side of it.
All right, Mr. Shen, from a sales perspective and a sales point of view in dealing with customers, I'm going to read off some of these, the members of some of these folks. NBC Universal, CBS, 20th Century Fox, Evertz, Grass Valley, QSC is on this list, Panasonic, Huawei, which we're going to do a story on them in a couple of weeks. Taking this to folks like that, to their corporate boardroom, and the fact that they're members of this, or folks like this are members of this, and let's say you go to a competitor, let's say you go to ABC's corporate headquarters, I don't know. Having that kind of clout, that kind of clout in the group, does that help or does that hurt?
In the corporate world, it actually doesn't matter much.
Okay.
Has a lot to do in the retail world, especially in the customer base that I have in retail and retail sales. But in the grand scheme of corporate sales, no.
I bet it would be really fun to hang out with them.
Yeah, I think we could all enjoy, just chilling with them, but it's not making major sales happen in a corporate AV experience.
All right, very good. Last story.
I was going to say one quick on it. It looks like they're working to come up with a protocol and a set of standards. It all comes down to who ends up using it, because you can have a standard, or you can say that something is a standard, but if nobody uses it, then it doesn't matter.
I would agree with you, Harry.
So write this down. Mike and I agreed. But basically, it's like, is it really a standard if nobody uses it? So at this point, I've kind of got to wait from a integrator perspective. I kind of have to wait to see what manufacturers actually jump on this and actually get in and start using it. And if it becomes something that's ubiquitous, then okay, cool. Then yes, that becomes the standard. Standards don't work as well top down. They kind of happen. they kind of percolate and happen. So I mean, they can come up with a standard, but you've got to have people actually using it before it can actually be a real standard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Last story here, and we're going to do it about the new gorgeous stadium in Atlanta called the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Not for nothing, by the time this post, you guys will know who won the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Rams. And God help me, I actually hope it's the Patriots.
No.
Oh
no,
yeah.
no! What the hell are you saying, Tim?
I'm a Bears fan, and I live in St. Louis, and I don't much care for the way that the Rams treated the citizens or the taxpayers of St. Louis.
Oh my God, man!
I honestly hope that Brady gets his sixth stone and he can create.
No, he's got 5 enough.
No, anyhow, Giselle needs one. All right.
Can they all fall down and no one wins?
That would be lovely. Yes, or
wouldn't that be awesome?
Tie. The first tie in the history of the Super Bowl. That would be awesome. All right. But in all seriousness, the Super Bowl is happening this weekend, or has happened by the time you will have heard this. It takes place in Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Oh my goodness, is this a beautiful facility? The folks at Diversified were responsible for the AV in this place. If you haven't seen it, the link we're going to put up here from Commercial Integrator and our buddy Craig McCormick. Craig does a great job of writing this up. The video is fantastic. Not only do the Atlanta Falcons play this weekend, it's the Super Bowl, but it's the home of the Falcons. But it's also where the Atlanta soccer team, professional soccer team, plays. It's just a gorgeous place. Kelly, I actually want to kind of start with you on this. From a marketing standpoint, from a manufacturer as well as an integrator, and let's be honest, Avixa is even using this as one of their tours here in the next few weeks, where they're bringing AV professionals through this facility as a way to show how an experience can really be, and Avixa's and their experience. How do you get to the point where you can start using something like this as a crown jewel in your marketing platform?
Oh, it's like the cream of the crop. I would love to be able to take customers into that stadium and show them around. And I mean, that's about as big of an experience as you can get, right? I think about it like when I used to work in integration, we did a big project at one of the skyscrapers in downtown Minneapolis. And it was because it was in public space and these things that we have called skyways. It was awesome because instead of just saying, oh yeah, we did this, or oh yeah, this is kind of cool, you could actually walk people through the space, right? You could actually see this is what your facility could look like. So having the ability to do tours in something like this is so cool. I love it. And I was actually already on the phone with Tom LeBlanc of Commercial Integrator, because I'm like, I want that video for the new Ignite website that's coming out, because how cool would it be if we could show, the new generation of folks in the audiovisual industry, dude, we did this. Harry's company did this. Like, how freaking cool is that? So I love it. It's like the best marketing tool ever.
Yeah. Mr. Shen, a couple of years ago, I remember talking with our friends at Legrand AV. Now, back then it was Milestone. As they were building, they weren't building, but as the U.S. Bank Stadium was being built in Minnesota, Milestone, Legrand AV is, and Milestone was, right there in the back door of Minneapolis. And they were taking tours and they were able to help. And there's a lot of Legrand AV products in U.S. Bank. When it comes to getting jobs like this, not to be silly, but how does that happen? How do you land this job?
Relationships. Everything comes down to relationships. People are not clear on understanding how important a relationship is in the course of a sale. So yeah, it comes down to the relationship.
All right, very good. All right, Harry, from an engineering and a consultant standpoint, and trying to put stuff like this together, this story is about the Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. I reference U.S. Bank, regardless of the stadium, the facility. I mentioned the fact that the Rams left St. Louis and they're building a new stadium in Inglewood. The Raiders are building a stadium in Las Vegas. You've got AV techs from here to California to Vegas, working on these jobs right now. How on earth are you managing these folks and making sure that they've got what they need from making sure that the equipment comes in on time, that it's the right stuff? And let's be honest, this was designed, right? This was designed probably 2 or 3 years before anybody ever snapped a football in this stadium. You've also got equipment that comes out and brand new stuff, and trying to make sure that stays current.
It really falls back to engineering in that regard, because you've got to have documentation right. You've got to have all of your product vetted so that you can make sure that it is the right product, and it is going that way. The project manager can say, okay, these are the products. I can make sure that this shows up at the right time, and they can be the traffic cop and make sure that everything goes. But without the right documentation on the back end, you have no idea how it's all supposed to go together, especially when you get to a stadium, because now you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of endpoints. If you're doing individual monitors, if you're doing, I've seen little monitors at seats in some of these places. So you have so many ins and outs. So documentation, both on paper, since it's all electronic now, on paper, or even in the field, making something as mundane as having a good wiring number standard so that you can make sure that everything, you don't have to go troubleshooting things on the other side of the stadium because somebody screwed up the wire labels. Okay. And you have to have quality checks at different points just to make sure that everything is going the right way, and that you don't have issues that can become real huge issues later on that can cause you to miss deadlines, because these deadlines are very public and they can't really move.
No. We did a story. Actually, Craig wrote this one also about Wrigley Field. When it was going up, and their first game, if I remember correctly, and I could have this wrong, but their first game was supposed to be with the St. Louis Cardinals, my hometown team, and I want to say that they bumped the game by a day or two because of some issues, and I don't remember if it was technically the AV system or something else within Wrigley. But you're right; they're very public deadlines, and the NFL, the MLB, the NHL do not like to change their schedule very often. So,
that sounds so stressful.
Yeah, because with baseball, you can move a game a day or two, and it'll work. Because they deal with rainouts and things.
Sure.
Move a game off a Sunday,
or Monday.
Or Thursday or Saturday.
Have a game that's supposed to be the Thursday night opener for the season. And, it's not ready yet.
How about Friday? Does Friday work for you? All right, guys. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all so much, Mr. Harry Mead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you much for having me on.
How do people find you if they are so inclined?
As the curmudgeonly statement was made earlier, I am at AVGrump on Twitter, and you can see my musings there. I am actually working on launching a blog, so it will be interesting to see what happens on that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Mr. Shen, thank you, sir. How do people get a hold of you in the great state of Tennessee?
In the great state of Tennessee, I am still at AXP Mike. Whoops. Yeah, that was a mistake. At AXP Mike on Twitter, and happy to see folks and people at the various trade shows and events that we have.
All right, very good. And Miss Perkins, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Close there.
Yeah. It's been a long day already.
Thank you. This has been super fun. You can find me at NSCA_Kelly on Twitter, and soon to be igniteyourcareer.org, where we'll have the brand new Ignite website. So.
And what is Ignite? If folks are not familiar with that,
Ignite is an initiative to get new talent into the industry we love so much.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. I wasn't kidding about the Bears fan. Don't follow me because that's what you'll get. That and blues and some stuff about my kids. So, but go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. We talked about ISE a little bit. We will be heading to Amsterdam. Actually, by the time this posts, we will be fully ensconced in the Rye. So check that out. Also, the entire week, February 5th through the 8th, we'll bring you all sorts of stuff. We will be doing a daily wrap-up, 5:30 local, so 11:30 Eastern every day. We'll be doing a live stream with myself and Matt Scott, or Matt Scott, depending on where each of us are within the facility. But we'll have some guests as well. Also, be doing this show, AVWeek, from the Rye next week as well. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. Also, while you're there, check out our supporter section. These support folks who help us financially, help us keep bringing you AVWeek and ISE and all that, all the coverage that we bring you. All that and more at AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.